Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Friday, and all of today's guests, including Thomas Drance. We got Thomas? Thumbs up. Standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Experience West Coast luxury and Vancouver Island's winter charm with the Bayside Oceanfront Resort's winter getaway. Have a listen here. Stay 2 nights or more and enjoy 25% off. Now available every day of the week. Choose from oceanside views with spacious double queen or king rooms. Enjoy pet-friendly accommodations, complimentary ensuite parking, and a flexible 24-hour cancellation policy. What a deal. Call them directly at 250-248-8333, or you can visit BaysideResortParksville.com or book your winter escape today. Okay, we got Thomas now? We're just going to go audio only, no Zoom? Okay, let's do that. And Thomas is in Toronto. We got that right? Waiting for the arrival of the Canucks after tonight's game in Carolina. From The Athletic, Thomas Drance in TO. Thomas, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. My beard looks far more manicured in that photo than it does in real life, so let's pretend that's exactly what I look like as I join your program.
You're looking good, buddy. Hey, Thomas, you're
5 years younger is what I'm looking.
Your opinion of the way the Canucks played in a couple of close games in Montreal and Washington.
Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, gentlemen, but the way that we were watching this Canucks team compete night to night, even in the first 16 games of the year when they got off to a good start and they had some juice offensively, through December, through November, like even when they were winning games without JT Miller, but they were kind of pulling it, sort of out of the bag at the last minute. Night to night, I felt like their competitive level was pretty inconsistent. And I would say since Christmas, even though the results haven't been there, even though they only have one regulation win in their last 10 games, even though they've lost 3 in a row, quote unquote, even though they've picked up points in their last 2, at least I feel like they've been predictable. Like we know that this team's going to come out, play with some physical edge. I think the effort level's been really high and really consistent in their, I guess, is it 6 games since the Christmas break now? So I like that. Like if this team had brought that level of fire and battle through the first 2.5 months of the year, I think they'd have 5 or 7 more points and a little bit more cushion over the Utahs and the Calgarys of the world. What do you guys agree with that? Like I liked their fire in Washington.
I was going to say that I was watching that Washington game all the way through. I was thinking to myself, when was our last really – well, I thought they played well in Montreal. They were a little bit unlucky. But that Washington team looked so good, and the Canucks stuck with them. And I'm thinking, when's the last time they've looked that impressive? Maybe the Kiefer Sherwood hat-trick game against Colorado. There hasn't been a lot. I really like the way they've played their last 2 games. And like I say, they were unlucky, I thought, in Montreal, Rick.
Thomas, let's hope they don't go to overtime tonight. 7 straight OT losses. What do you make of their problems in OT?
I mean, there's one problem in OT, in my opinion, and it's without Hronek in the lineup, when Quinn Hughes steps off the ice, they're in trouble.
Yep.
Period. Right? I mean, it really is as simple as that. Now, you could extrapolate that and say that that's a microcosm of Vancouver's wider problems all season, right? With their one team with Quinn Hughes on the ice, and they're a very different team without him. But, they've been outscored 5-0 in overtime without Quinn Hughes. They've been outshot 16-4 without Quinn Hughes on the ice in the 3-on-3 frame. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as that. The Canucks don't have enough secondary puck movement. It impacts their game in every phase, but it's especially notable when there's as much space out there as there is on 3-on-3. The Canucks don't have, especially when Hronek's out and when Brandstrom's not in the lineup, they don't have other credible 3-on-3 options, and you feel it. Like they should go 3 forwards. Honestly, they should go 3 forwards. Play Pius Suter or something as the back end guy at this point. Whenever Quinn Hughes needs a breather 3-on-3, because their other options just aren't working. And we kind of know that. We've kind of seen it pretty consistently, and it's been costing them points, especially across the last 10-game segment where they've lost 5 games past regulation.
Thomas, impossible not to talk about this team and ask about Miller Pettersson, the situation. They could be both traded. What are you hearing? What is the latest? You're on the road with the team, but what are you hearing on that front?
Yeah, I mean, nothing new. I really can't shake. I can't shake the suspicion that at least some of this is about shaking things up, rattling cages, getting the team to play a little bit more uncomfortably, getting them to sort of trying to draw out the sort of effort that I do think we've seen since Christmas. You know, you think about the commentary from Alvin about this team's inconsistency. Even if the team hasn't got results, I think they have got a response from that. You know, I think JT Miller has played some of his best hockey as an individual since Christmas. And then obviously Pettersson's been hurt and looks like I expect him to play tonight, but I have no indication of that. Obviously, no independent media on the road with the team in Carolina today. So, you know, a little bit challenging to get lineup notes, but I would think based on Rick Tockett's commentary about, you know, it sort of being up to Pettersson, I would expect him to be back tonight. And, you know, I do think these guys have to play well for this team to continue to be invested in this project, as it were. But I also do wonder how much of this noise it was just designed to elicit the sort of, you know, heavy response that I think they've drawn out of this team. You know, it's just difficult for me when I think about how this story has unfolded and how many times it could have gone away if not for the team itself. Comments from the head coach, comments from Quinn Hughes, comments from Patrick Alvin, sort of bringing it back to the fore, right? It's hard for me to escape that and sort of wonder, like, how much of this has been about motivating everybody, about making sure that everybody's, you know, on their toes, as it were, competitively, especially given that has been something of an issue for the team over the course of the season. So we'll see where this goes, but man, those trades, like in-season trades of players of that caliber, exceedingly rare. So obviously we're all at high alert, but I think we'd all still be surprised to see the Canucks, you know, detonate a group that they've worked pretty hard to assemble here since Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford took charge of this organization a couple years back.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Thomas, because the media and our show takes a lot of heat regarding the Pettersson-Miller rift, and the Canucks keep adding chapters to it with the Alvin interview, et cetera, et cetera. Did you hear what happened out of Boston this morning? WEEI, a host by the name of Rich Keefe, talking about the problems between Marchand and Pasternak. This is, Thomas, you've been around for a long time. This is nothing new. It's about winning and losing. If they like the Bruins, if the Canucks were winning more, we wouldn't hear anything about this.
Yeah, I think you're right. And look, the Boston Bruins aren't losing because David Pasternak has a habit of making lazy line changes. You know, they're not losing because his shift length is too high sometimes. But those things are true. When you watch the Bruins, like, those things are true. And yet, if David Pasternak's not the guy generating offense and scoring chances for the Bruins, there sure isn't anybody else who's going to do it, right? Like, the problem is that they're too reliant on Pasternak to generate offense, not that Pasternak's not, quote unquote, playing the right way or what have you, right? So, you know, it's one of those situations where if that information is accurate, and I don't have an indication that it is or not, but if it is, it's like both guys might be right. Like, David Pasternak might be right to be like, come on, man, that's not the problem here. And Marchand is also right that there are moments when I've watched the Bruins play, and especially when I've watched them play live, you know, where Pasternak has some of those habits that used to drive me nuts watching this Canucks core group in the pre-Tocchet era, right? So, you know, I think this is one where, and that's, you know, it's a good reminder whenever you hear about feuds, whenever you're in one or yourself, whether it's, you know, at your place of work or with a teammate, whatever. It's like, you know, oftentimes both sides have something of a point and it's more about just sort of finding a way to accommodate one another and make it work. Right. Yeah. And that sort of was my first blush reaction. Cause I've sort of said that about Pasternak a few times over the years when I've watched the Bruins play. And so to hear it sort of, that the fact that I've had that bias sort of, I guess, lent credibility to my interpretation of that pretty explosive report out of Boston. But as they say, right, two modes in the NHL. There's winning and there's hell. And when you're not winning, right, things can get awfully tight around everybody's collar. The stakes get high. It's such a long season. You spend so much time together. The disappointment of repeated L's. It wears on a team. It wears on relationships. And this is nothing new. No question. And it's not unique to Vancouver, and it's not unique to Boston. This is a universal truth of how difficult it can be and how much it can wear on individuals and teams when you're losing games in the NHL.
Yeah, it doesn't make it right, but it's hard to escape. What are you doing in Toronto, by the way, before we let you go? Don't you know the Canucks have a game in Carolina tonight?
Back-to-backs are challenging on the road sometimes, okay. So I picked one of the two to go to, and I picked Toronto. Something special about being able to see a game here. Obviously, I used to live in this city. I had a few business items to attend to too yesterday and today in the city. So I just decided that I'd do the Toronto leg as opposed to the Carolina leg, which is too bad. Love to go down and eat the barbecue pregame. Have you ever covered a game in Carolina?
No, I haven't. I understand it's special. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like right by the TV trucks, as you walk in, there's like a giant smoker, and there's this like pitmaster preparing the media meal before the game. It's unbelievable. Anyway, hate to miss out on the cheer wine and whole hog barbecue before a Carolina Hurricanes game. I promise you that.
I can't believe every member of the Vancouver media isn't in Raleigh, North Carolina right now. That sounds delicious.
It's incredible. It's incredible stuff.
Thomas, thanks for this. Enjoy, T.O.
Will do. Thank you, gentlemen.